Side of Giants yesterday, they chose to ban away Kalista, Ezreal, and Ryze from the Unicorns of Love, but they were on red side. Now that they're on the blue side, they're going to have that early priority, and they might want to get that Ryze for themselves.
Would not surprise me at all. Other mid laners in the mix, of course, with the Azir, with the Zoe. We have seen Zoe getting banned out in all of our games thus far, so wouldn't be surprised if she's removed from the pool as well. Jarvan going to get taken away by Giants, and now Vitality have this little bit of a game of chicken to play with Giants as to exactly where they prioritize these next two bans.
Looks like a lot of respect being shown from both teams. Jarvan directed at Gilius. Not only is Jarvan a good pick in the current meta, but also Gilius had a phenomenal performance on it yesterday, and vice versa. Vitality saying, you know what, Ruin, we recognize your skill. We don't want to give you that Ornn once again.
And the Kalista getting removed from Minitroupax as well. What a player he was in the Challenger Series. Went unkilled for 3 weeks, is unkilled on the EU LCS stage thus far as well. So you want to take away these hyper carries from him because of how strong that Vitality bottom lane can be. It's finally a Gnar ban, but this leaves open the Zoe Vedius and the Azir.
It also leaves open Sejuani, and typically jungles have been high priority, but I imagine Vitality are fine with giving away the Sejuani in order to prioritize the Ryze and potentially the Kha'Zix for Gilius to pick up later on. I feel like that not picking one of these strong champions right now would be a bit of a gamble, but instead Giants, they're going to lock in their mid lane. They
will get the Ryze for themselves. Now Vitality need to answer, and you want to do it before that second ban phase, because then that mid lane pool is going to shrink even more.
Now, yesterday we saw Caps bringing out the Azir into Niski's Ryze, and he was able to have a pretty huge impact in that mid lane, and it looks like Vitality are edging in a similar direction. Again, we did talk about the Sejuani, but there are other jungle options available. We have seen a bit of Kha'Zix, things like over in the LCK, we've seen things like Rengar, we've seen a bit of Shyvana, we've even seen a bit of Jax. But when you look at Gilius, he is the kind of player that likes to get in your face, so I wouldn't be surprised if he brought out some innovative and interesting picks on his side.
He will lock in the Tahm Kench for now. It's interesting we say that about Gilius because it's something we've seen a lot in the Challenger Series and a lot in his career up until now. But yesterday, very much more supportive jungler. Build to Jarvan, went Warmogs, went very tanky, had a Knight's Vow as his first completed item. So he can fulfill that utility role for the team as well, if needs must. There's the Sejuani we talked about, and Cho'Gath coming out for Ruin. We saw this yesterday from Wonder. Ruin played it a lot in the Challenger Series as well. It's a strong top lane.
Yeah, it seems like the Ruin's sticking to his style as well. During the Challenger Series, he did play a lot of tanks, and he's going to keep up with that playstyle. Right now, they have a strong front line, and it does feel like that they are going very much to what they built yesterday. Very safe, very straightforward composition, scales nicely into the late game, but also has a pretty okay laning phase as well, whereas Vitality, they've actually gone with the Gragas. Now, you could flex this to both top and jungle. We still have to wait and see where they're going to throw it.
We haven't really seen that much Gragas at all recently, so I'm a little bit surprised by that pick, but as we get into the second ban phase, perhaps things will make themselves a little bit more clear. There's the Braum ban from Vitality. Giants trying to squeeze down on that AD carry pool. We know that Minitroupax likes these safer AD carries in the Caitlyn and the Ezreal, so they're trying to remove some of his safety from that pool.
Yesterday, he did get his hands on the Ez, and Giants saying, we're not going to give it to you this time around. Things like the Vayne are still available, but if you want to go for a safer option, Tristana could also be banned away. But Giants need to be careful because they're the ones pinching the AD carry pool, and they don't actually have an AD carry themselves yet, so they don't want to put themselves in a corner as they look to ban one final AD carry.
Well, there's the Varus removed as well, as you say. Now Vitality need to decide where they're going to go. Do you look top? Do you try and save a top lane counter pick? Do you instead go for your AD carry here? The Tristana, the Caitlyn, both of those viable options here for Minitroupax. And we've seen how strong he can be on Caitlyn. It will be him alongside Jacktroll in that bottom lane. Caitlyn and Tahm Kench, a very safe lane for Vitality.
Yeah, Minitroupax, during the Challenger Series, he did like these lane-dominant AD carries in both Kalista and the Caitlyn. With a Tahm Kench, it does make things a little harder, but given her range and given her wave clear, Caitlyn could be exceptionally oppressive during the laning phase. Now, Giants, they could answer with a Xayah Rakan duo bot lane, especially with the Braum and Alistar banned away, who are typically considered good answers into the Tahm Kench.
I really really like this late Xayah Rakan as well, because Targamas, when he was with Gamers Origin, was a very aggressive lane-dominant support. Getting yourself someone who can go in, who can be a little bit more aggro in the lane, really helps this Giants bot lane playstyle. And now Vitality need to find a way to answer not only the bot lane, but also the engage that comes out from the rest of Giants.
Now this is our first Gangplank of the European LCS. Over in Korea, they've put a huge priority in it. It's either picked or banned in pretty much every single game. Whereas in Europe, it's taken us a little time. We still don't think it's that strong, but it feels that teams are feeling a little bit more comfortable. And now that Cabochard knows the matchup, he sees a tank opponent, he feels, you know what, I can get through what is typically a rough laning phase for the GP.
Let's have a quick look across the entire lineups as a whole here as a cohesive unit. Looking at Vitality, it seems to me like they just have a lot of scaling here. Azir, Gangplank, and the Caitlyn alongside it, with a bit of disengage and safety when you add the Gragas and the Tahm Kench into the mix.
I feel like Vitality right now have an excellent siege comp. They have a lot of wave clear, and they have a lot of lane power. Mainly towards the bottom side of the map. Gragas can be a little bit more active in the early game because he's not entirely reliant on the Sejuani ultimate, but as you rightly said, there is good scaling on this side, and it's really around the mid-game point where Gangplank gets his Trinity Force, Azir completes his Nash's Tooth, where you want to see this Vitality squad grouping up, sieging for towers, and forcing objectives. Whereas for Giants, they're a little bit more team fight focused. They're a little bit more towards the late game. You're looking at these 2-3 item carries to really come into their own at the later stages of play, which means that very similarly to yesterday, as long as they don't fall under any heavy deficits in the early game, you're looking at a bit of a time bomb for the side of Vitality that they're going to struggle with as the game goes on further.
We'll have to wait and see. Giants impressed us with their macro performance yesterday, and Vitality had a good performance all round. Their rookies really standing out. Those are the people we want to watch. We're looking at Jiizuke, and we're looking at Minitroupax, and we're looking at Giants as a whole as we get on to the Summoner's Rift. It's game 1 of day 2 here in the EU LCS, and I'm ready for some action. Now, Vedius, yesterday we saw both these teams perform admirably in their first day. I really want to narrow down on Giants, though, because a lot of people coming into the split looked at this roster and said, they don't look incredible. They don't look like they're going to be able to perform at the highest level. But yesterday, Giants began to prove that wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of them. I put them at D tier coming into the LCS split. I did think that based on the performance of the veterans in prior splits, combined with rookies who, or new faces, didn't really shine. This team didn't look that strong. But when they went up against the Unicorns of Lev yesterday, they demonstrated good signs of how to play around the map. They knew exactly how to take advantage of a lead. And individually, in terms of the laning phase, only Betsy struggled, and he was going up against a LeBlanc, which was Exile's comfort pick. So you look across the board and you think, well, to be fair, Giants did a lot of good things. Now going up against Vitality, who also showed a lot of early aggression, trying to invest a lot of resources into Cabochard. It's going to be fascinating how they deal with that kind of pressure and that kind of confidence that this Vitality roster is looking to bring.
And it's Cabochard being able to play these aggressive top laners. It felt before in Vitality he was shoehorned into tanks, into these more meta top laners. Now playing Jace yesterday, playing Gangplank today, we really want to focus in on that top matchup because Ruin did such a good job on the other side as well for Giants. He had an incredible performance yesterday. They invested a little bit of time into him, but most of the time he was in 2v1 scenarios and was able to get a strong kill and assist lead and a CS lead in the lane.
If you recall to yesterday's games, Cold's early investment was pretty much trying to shut down Ruin on the Ornn, and they failed to do so. He was able to avoid a lot of ganks. He was even able to turn around a 2 versus 1 in his favor, get a significant kill, and really it stopped any kind of early snowball from happening, given the amount of pressure that he was soaking. And having that kind of consistency from a new player onto the LCS stage is a great thing to have, because then you can just feel that the other veterans can just stick to playing their style, they can feel confident and not have to change things to make sure that Ruin is comfortable.
Ruin he's been around in Europe for quite a while. He was with SK Gaming Prime when they were a thing, then he moved to Nerve in the Challenger Series. Bit of engage here in the mid lane, but Betsy should be able to trade back into Jiizuke. And he's just slowly developed into this pretty strong top laner, being able to challenge the other members of the top lane pool we have here in the EU LCS.
Well, it was only his first day, remember?
Hey, I like to give people credit, Vedius. People judge me on my first day and say I'm amazing.
Do they? Is that what they say?
It's a good thing these people know the facts, Vedius.
So I'm looking at this top lane matchup too, because remember, it is our first Gangplank of the split, and you'll note that he is running Kleptomancy, largely because Gangplank during the laning phase is not that strong. He doesn't have a huge amount of harass, as you so evidently see, and he doesn't have that amazing wave clear, given that the enemy top laner can largely just clear out the barrels. So by going for Kleptomancy, it means that you can reach those power spikes sooner because of the large investment of gold that you get, and you can throw a lot of poke out, as we see Gank from the bottom.
Djoko's ganking first in the bot lane. Jacktroll with the Devour to try to flash away, gets the thick skin, but is he going to live today? He manages to escape underneath this turret, and Giants come up wanting.
Every summoner spell used there by Jacktroll, but good early gank from Giants towards the bottom side. We talked about how they don't want to fall behind in the early game, but the one thing about Xayah Rakan is it is a lane you can always set up for success. Very powerful duo, a lot of engage, a lot of CC, and a lot of damage. But because of how tanky Tahm Kench is in the early game, no kill, only a bit of pressure gained in favor of Giants.
And this is something that this Vitality bot lane did so well in challenges as well. They would absorb pressure. People would try and gank their lane early on. They'd have these scaling champions with a safe support, usually Caitlyn Braum or Caitlyn Tahm, and they would be able just to bring pressure away from the rest of the map and set up the rest of their team for success. That's why I want to see Gilius now looking at the other lanes, looking for these gank paths.
I feel like for this game, though, Gilius doesn't really need to invest a lot of ganks towards the bot side. They want to just try and invest in the early tower towards the bot lane, because you do have a lot of push with the Caitlyn. This will be relieved a little bit, this kind of pressure, due to Jacktroll losing both his summoner spells. But the tower is what you want to play for on the bottom side of the map, not really kills. If you want to try and get kills, Cabochard is a great lane to invest in, especially once Jiizuke gets a couple levels under his belt, and Cabochard has that extra influx of gold. You can see he's already completed the Sheen. This is a good lane that you want to try and get snowballing so that you can set it for the side lane threat later on, and also the pressure you can use with his Gangplank ultimate.
Have to see exactly where the junglers do path. It's so variable at the moment. Something that has also been variable is Steeelback's career path over the last few years. It's not often that people remember just how strong this guy was in that 2015 Fnatic lineup, but since then, it's kind of fallen off a little bit. Yesterday, we started to see some of his former glory come back. When Giants invested resources into him, he was able to be a bit more aggressive, and he started to rack up some big numbers.
And this is nice to see, because Steeelback, when he played on Vitality, a lot of people criticized him given that he was rushing things like the early Quicksilver Sash. He was playing extremely far back and passively, and now that he's paired up with Targamas, a bit of an unknown name in the professional scene, he comes in, they're always playing forward, they're always looking to try and be proactive, and they're holding their own in a lot of 2v2s, especially against some of this new talent that's trying to debut onto the LCS stage.
Speaking of new talent, Jacktroll was looking for something in the mid lane, but at the moment, seems like a bit of a farm fest. Ryze and Azir, two mid laners we've seen a lot recently. Yeah,
and as we mentioned, when Caps played up against Nisqy yesterday, Caps was able to exert, after his first back, a lot of harassment and pressure down onto the enemy Ryze. And you're starting to see that in the case of Betsy. He's at a slight CS disadvantage, but this should equalize out as Betsy completes things like the Catalyst, and he has a bit of extra HP and a bit of extra mana to start trading back more effectively against Jiizuke.
Has gone for the minion dematerializer as well to try and answer out some of that push, being able to clear the minions a little bit easier. Something we've seen a lot of Korean players do. We've seen AD carry sometime as well. I'm glad we haven't got an unsealed spellbook AD carry in this game.
And one of the cool things that I love about the minion dematerializer is every time you use it on things like either the caster creep or the melee creep, every time afterwards, you then start doing more damage to that type of minion, which really helps with your wave clear. And on a champion like Ryze, who in the very early levels doesn't have the strongest wave clear, it makes things just that little bit easier against someone like an Azir, who just throw up those soldiers and keep pushing you under your tower.
It's been able to keep pretty even in CS thus far. Across the rest of the map, things are looking pretty common, pretty even here. You know, you've got a BF sword completed on Minitroupax. Looks like Steeelback's going double longsword up towards the Essence Reaver build on the Xayah. But across the board, we're not yet seeing a massive advantage for any of these lanes.
No, so far things are going pretty standard. It's not completely unexpected. We did say that in terms of both junglers, they're not really looking to invest a huge amount of early pressure. There are a few lanes that Gilius could look to try and play around, but this is definitely a big pivot from what we saw from him yesterday. And Giants, they're looking to try and make a bit of an invade here on the top side of Vitality's jungle.
Ruin is blocking off the tri-bush here to force Cabochard back, but it is going to be Jiizuke who answers first from that mid lane. So Djoko will have to retreat. Doesn't steal away the red buff. Might step forward now because there's no mid lane pressure for Vitality.
Well, a deep vision invested here for Giants. They know exactly what Vitality are up to. Gangplank is able to move down. They could go for a collapse here onto Djoko.
So 3-man collapse straight onto Djoko. He's going to have to try and weave his way out of this one, but does he know the way out of here? Cabochard is in his face. Going to get to catch him out for the time being. The Sejuani flashes. Here comes Jiizuke though, and he'll catch up Djoko. Stopwatch, stop right a minute, wait right there. Going for the re-engage as Betsy and Ruin come in from the side. Giants want this fight. They tried to steal the red. Now they're trying to steal some kills, and there's first blood. Ruin gets it. He wants a bit more. He's going to take a bite of the champ, but Cabo goes down as well. 2-0 to Giants.
They pick up an early advantage onto the old Giants roster. Jiizuke and Cabo are dead. First blood goes on to Ruin, and we talked about how he was the rookie we were watching yesterday, and so far, he's off to a great start.
And it was such a delayed invade. It went piece by piece. Giants able to react, having that macro play we talked about, able to see exactly how the pieces fit together.
Now, Djoko is overextending at this point. The rest of his team can't support him, he's getting collapsed upon, and everything is looking dire. So you see in this situation, okay, Djoko's gonna die, he can't even jump over the wall, the flash doesn't get him anywhere, but here is where the stopwatch buys time to allow him to come back. He smites the red, gets a bit of HP back, and then Ruin is level 6. He has his ultimate. He knows he can deal some decent damage and just stick onto these targets. And then Djoko just comes back in. He says, I want a bit of the action, I want a bit of extra gold, and they're able to get themselves 2 early kills.
And that's so good for Giants. We talked about how they scale really well in picks and bans. This just gets that snowball rolling quicker, you know? Ruin in the top lane can now try and harass down Cabochard, who is on this not lane dominant champion in the Gangplank, and the mid lane now has that catalyst and the tier building up as well. Giants are looking in a very strong spot against this Vitality lineup.
Oh yes, they are. And it's the front line of Giants that have gotten those kills too. We saw yesterday when G2 ran a similar roster, how destructive that Cho'Gath Sejuani combo truly was. And it seems that Cho'Gath, at least in Europe, is still considered a pretty strong pick up in the top lane. And look at the advantage that Ruin has already built for himself in that 1 versus 1. No longer can you really say that Ruin was the weak link of the old Giants roster, because he is showing his stuff here today.
And Giants are showing just how much they've improved in the offseason as well. This macro play is something we would not have expected from them last season. Maybe it's a sign that this Vitality roster coming up through Challenger Series is a little bit weaker than we all expected it to be. Or maybe it's just a sign of how much Giants have improved. They're going to secure the Rift Herald for themselves. They have a 1,000 gold lead at the 11-minute mark, and they are looking very powerful right now.
You'll note that Minitroupax and Jacktroll have swapped to the top side. Immediate flash there from Jacktroll, showing some respect towards the engage from Targamas. But the reason why the swap has come out from Vitality is because they recognize, okay, Cabo now is going to lose even more farm and is in a dire situation. We don't want to keep him in this 1 versus 1 against the Cho'Gath. So we're going to try and move him out. Maybe we can go for an early tower play, but Giants read the play. They have an understanding of what Vitality are trying to do and are quickly able to answer. So you can see slight CS advantage in the favor of Minitroupax, but Steeelback very quick on his heels. And now look at the difference in the mid lane. Jiizuke earlier on was very dominant, was building a healthy lead, but now Betsy is starting to come back after he was involved in those 2 kills.
And that's exactly what Betsy, well, he was one of a few great Ryzes when Ryze first rose to the meta in the EU LCS. Well off a little bit, but now is coming back, and here's the Glacial Prism from the side as Djoko jumps in. Jiizuke tries to get away and escapes underneath the turret. The Shreema lives to fight another day.
Cleanse only just now coming up. Betsy and Djoko with a good coordinated gank. You'll notice how Djoko didn't get bounced back multiple times off that Azir ultimate. That is because there was a few changes in how it interacted. But now we see Jacktroll bringing Minitroupax over to the mid lane, help with the wave clear as Giants set up the siege.
Vitality trying to defend, but Giants have a 5-man stack here. Djoko's going to jump in, no ult on him, of course, but the knock-up, and Jacktroll is just dead. And with the Rift Herald, Giants will secure the mid lane tower. First turret in mid, 3 kills up, 3,000 gold ahead. Giants are looking devastating.
Giants are playing fantastic right now. Not only were they able to convert a jungle invade into 2 early kills, but now they've been able to properly set up around objectives, recognize that they have an advantage, they can continue to push. That was a clean mid lane tower take, and they're even able to get a kill off the back of it.
And if you're Vitality now, you're looking at your rookies, you're looking at Jiizuke and Minitroupax, and you're saying, guys, this is where we need to step up. This is the first real challenge they have had on the LCS stage. Yesterday against H2K felt a little bit like warm-up at times. H2K didn't really perform, but now Vitality are under the cosh, and this is where you have to show you deserve to be on this stage.
Well, remember, what we said about this Vitality composition is that once they finish that first item, that's when they can really start to force a couple of things. The Nashus 2 has been completed for Jiizuke, Trini Force has been completed for Cabo, and they've just picked themselves up a Mountain Drake. So this is a great point in the game for them to try and force things, because their composition as a whole is very strong. But if they slow down with their proactivity, if they just allow Giants to continue taking control over the entirety of the map, Giants is going to outscale, and they're going to have the freedom to force these fights, which I'm not confident Vitality can really answer.
And as much as you choose a safe lane, a lane-dominant lane with the Caitlyn and Tahm Kench, you got Ruin running at your face with a Righteous Glory and a flash and a big nom. You don't tend to survive that as an AD carry. We saw it yesterday in the G2 Misfits series. It is not a pretty sight at all when an AD carry gets devoured.
Depends on what perspective you're standing.
That's true, that's true.
For Ruin, it's a wonderful midday snack, and it looks like his current snack on the menu is this red buff.
You can see the Vitality Academy roster there. Some known faces. I saw Unlimited and Yuki sitting in the crowd watching the main roster challenge Giants at the moment. Haven't been able to put as much as a challenge as they would like, but I'm sure they're working to rectify that. You have to look at people like Gilius now as well. So much experience on his shoulders. Been to Worlds, of course, with SK. This is the moment that he really needs to step up and start leading this team to a degree. Cabochard as well. These two LCS veterans have to be able to guide the rookies to success.
I mean, the last time we saw Gilius in the European LCS was back in 2016 with the Schalke roster. After being relegated, he went to various different teams, both in NA and in EU, various challenger rosters. Now that he's back, ever since his arrival, he's been confident. He's been telling everyone how he's come to dominate Europe. He's come to take control of this region. And that's where this experience comes in. You're looking at him and you're thinking, okay, how do you turn this around? How do you turn this deficit into some kind of an advantage? Giants leading with a 2,000 gold lead right now. Their two tanks are sitting on a healthy gold lead. The Abyssal Mass just been completed for Betsy, and they're looking for another invade.
Trying to steal away the red buff, which isn't there, but they're also just putting pressure up towards this top side. We'll step over that control ward, but immediately Cabochard's just like, no, not having any of that. Ruin has total control of this lane. They'll get the second tower as well for Giants. And with it, an even larger gold lead.
And you're starting to see how easy taking control of the map becomes. Targamas goes for a fight.
Good knock-up from Targamas. Jiizuke will use the Emperor's Divide to push him away for the time being.
So once the mid lane tower is down, it becomes a lot easier to set up vision in the enemy jungle. And once you have that, it makes it easier to then make plays towards both the top and bot outer towers. This allows Giants to very quickly take that tier 1 in the top lane, and now they can start putting their focus towards the bot. TP is up and available for Ruin. You can see a couple of blue wards littered in the enemy jungle of Vitality, and their eyes are set on taking down this final outer tower.
If you compare the amount of wards that Giants have in Vitality's jungle to the amount that Vitality have, Giants have 5 wards in the Vitality jungle to almost none that Vitality have. Now we're going to look for a fight in the bottom lane as Djoko's going to jump in. Jacktroll has already used the Devour, but Djoko is just zoning away 3 members of Vitality, and this is the 3rd turret. Giants' macro play again is superb as they clear out vision and then go for the objective.
Very clean, very clear. You know, we were just talking about how this bot lane tower was the goal that they were trying to do, and you even saw Djoko drop that control ward down saying, hey look, if you stick around, our top lane is going to TP in, you might have a Gangplank ult, but we know we're stronger at this point in the game. So instead, Vitality choose to back off, 3 towers to 0. 3,000 gold in the favor of Giants right now. Everything looking up for the squad that many analysts underestimated coming in.
I think most people would have rated Vitality 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 positions above this Giant squad coming into even the game today, never mind the EU LCS split as a whole. And Giants are showing exactly why they cannot be underestimated this split. They have come to play. And they are doing exactly that today, playing with their food to a degree as they just continue to take turret after turret. Jiizuke is going to try and get away, but Targamas and Steeelback are on the flank here. They're going to go in, looking for that duo combo. Emperor's Divide just knocks them back, but Ruin has the other flank, and Jiizuke doesn't really have anywhere to go. He's going to get nommed out. And Giants once again collapse for a kill.
The silence and knockup preventing Jiizuke from being able to get out of that situation. The nom was there. Steeelback even used his ult to try and get an assist. Wasn't enough for now. Giants, they're trying to siege onto this tier 2 in the middle lane.
Gangplank ultimate is used. That cannon barrage will clear out the minions, but Giants are willing just to wait for the next wave. No other objectives on the map. Still a minute for the Mountain Drake and a minute and a half before the Baron reaches the Summoner's Rift. A 4,000 gold lead for Giants is just slowly eking forward, eking away from this Vitality roster. They haven't been able to play with that one-item spike Vedius.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They haven't been able to play around the point in the game at which they have the advantage. We can have a look and see how Jiizuke died once more. Good control from the Giants side to have vision, deep vision in the bottom side of Vitality's jungle. Jiizuke wants to try and get away from Targamas and Steeelback. He does not react to Ruin in time, and he ends up dropping. And the Italian Stallion seems to be having the reins brought in on him today. As you can see, the support staff from Giants are excited as Cabo is now in danger.
Cabochard going to try and dodge away, but this would be a SOAS level escape. The knockup connects. Djoko runs past him, but will try and connect as well. Here comes the Tahm Kench, and Giants willing to back away. And that's smart play from Giants. Something perhaps we wouldn't have seen from them last split. A little bit more reserved, a little bit more willing to accept that they can't quite get everything that they want.
It's fascinating, though, because I just look at all the wards that Vitality had towards the top side of the map, and I wonder how Cabo didn't see that movement from Djoko towards the top side. What it will allow is Vitality to take down this Mountain Drake. Fortunately, Cabo did not die, but Giants, they might want to look for a fight.
A little bit too late. TP went up. The TP is going to come in from Ruin. Has that Cho'Gath ultimate as well as they chase on towards Jiizuke, but a good Emperor's Ride will knock him back. The cleanse flash as well is great. Targamas can't quite get the chase down onto Azir. And Giants will look for the turret instead.
So Jiizuke gets away with his life, but it looks like the tower won't be so lucky. Very quick map movement from Giants. They're able to turn what was an enemy Drake into an enemy tower advantage. And now they are sitting with a fort to tower lead. This is such an impressive game. This is nearly a perfect game if they hadn't lost those early Drakes. But from the Giants squad, this is nothing but impressive.
And if you're a Vitality fan sitting in the audience wondering how they're going to get back into the game, you do still have some rays of hope. You've still got a Gangplank, you've still got a late game Caitlyn, you still have a late game Azir to rest your hat on, but Giants do not seem to be willing to give Vitality even an inch of leeway in this game.
And it's just so fascinating because Giants, I just spoke to our stats team and I was like, let's have a look at some of their early tower taking stats. Let's see how objective focused they are in the early game. And yesterday, they were able to take 3 towers by the 15-minute mark.
That's very impressive.
Today, they only took 1, but then they took the other 2 just after at about 16 minutes. So this team, they get these ever so slight advantages, and then they're just so quick to convert them into towers and control across the map.
And so much of it is on the back of Ruin as well. He's 2-0-2 on this Cho'Gath. He was incredibly influential in that early play around the red buff. Now he's looking basically unstoppable on this tank, and you can't see a Vitality member who can really deal with him. What are you going to do? Gragas barrel him away, Emperor's Divide. Yes, you can separate the team fight a little bit, but eventually that Cho'Gath is going to chase you down.
Very good stuff from Giants. But now let's turn to the Vitality side and think about what they can do to come back from what looks like a dire situation. The Baron starts to become an objective that both these teams play around. Vitality right now want to maintain control over their half of the map. You can see that both Gilius and Jacktroll just sitting in the jungle trying to make sure that they at least have some wards. They're trying to deny some of the vision from Giants while also clearing all of the side lanes. And they're hoping that one Giants member overextends, one overcommits, and they can try and find a pick. And this could be Gilius trying to look for that said pick.
Djoko just Arctic assaults across the wall, and he is off towards safety, but it does allow Vitality to push forward a little bit more, get some vision control, put down these pink wards. Maybe look for a barrel combo to try and get some damage down onto Giants, but here comes Ruin with the flank once again. He doesn't really care who he goes for, he just wants to be in the middle of the fight. He's knocked back towards the tower. There's the Glacial Prison. Ruin heals up. Somehow he's still alive and he survives, and Giants get their 5th kill of the game.
No TP, no flash required. Ruin simply walks from bot to mid, uses the Righteous Glory, and now the jungler is dead. They tried to use the ultimate to catch Ruin out, but he is not afraid. He's healing back up insanely quickly thanks to the Warmogs. Are they looking for another flank?
Djoko's going to jump on towards Jacktroll. Ruin does have that flank position. No flash for him, of course, but Jacktroll almost gets knocked up, has to flash by himself. Targamas gets taken low, and now perhaps Vitality will chase on towards Ruin. He's shuffled back, he's knocked into the rest of Vitality. Can he stay alive? I don't think so. Ruin goes down, and Vitality pick up their first kill of the game.
So Giants get a little over eager there. They don't want to commit to the Baron this early on in the game. Therefore, they try to go for another fight in mid. They bait Vitality out, but that Azir tower makes it so difficult for Giants to commit. Ruin kind of gets left off to the side, and he ends up losing his life. So Giants, Vitality rather, they've relieved some of the pressure and have gotten themselves a kill on the board.
And it's exactly what we wanted to see from Vitality. This ability to react to mispositioning, the ability to make these plays, the experienced heads making good calls as Vitality get themselves a little bit of a way back into this game. They are still 4,000 gold behind, still 4 turrets to 0. But they do have the double mountains. They do have a bit of scaling in their composition to rest their hats on.
And you can see, it's nice to see from Vitality that they seem like an emotional team. Yesterday we heard them laughing, yelling, getting excited, and they don't have that this game. They fell into an early deficit, and you can see that they're still staying composed. They recognize, okay, let's not get over eager, let's not make silly mistakes, let's not try and solo carry. They're still working as a team, they're recognizing the strengths of their composition, and they're just trying to play around the advantages that Giants do have. So right now they're just trying to buy a little time and hope that Giants make a mistake that Vitality can then look to try and punish.
Will Giants make that mistake, though? Their macro play over the last couple of days has been absolutely sublime to watch, especially their early games. They seem to just know exactly the rotations they want to do, the towers they want to take in, and what order they want to take them down. But they have made a couple of mistakes here. Maybe Djoko once again making another one as he pushes into Vitality. Gilius and Jacktroll trying to retreat away, but here comes Targamas fully engaged. Jacktroll does have that thick skin, of course. Will pop it early. It's a 4v4, and they jump into that backline already. Targamas goes down as Minitroupax gets a kill, and Ruin can't get onto the backline. Vitality have been able to back away from this fight, and Gilius survives. And now we see Vitality take a step forward. Now we see they want this fight. Jacktroll trying to get on towards Betsy, but he's prisoned up. And Vitality will get one kill and get out clean. Excellent
team fight there from Vitality, the way in which they kited back. Jiizuke recognized that he was going to be the target from the flash, Ruin, silence, and he was able to preemptively avoid it so that then he could dish out damage. All the while, Minitroupax freely hitting on the backline and was able to shut down Targamas. So Vitality playing these team fights rather well as we get into the mid-game state of the game. Giants still feel like they have control over the map. It looks like they're not going to be able to steal away this red buff.
Circumstances have changed a little bit from that earlier red buff steal. Let's have another look at this fight because it feels like Giants are the ones that engage.
Yeah, Giants, they recognize that they don't want to concede too much of the vision around the Baron. They feel stronger right now, so they try and force a fight. Look at how patient Targamas is. He's waiting for Ruin to come in, then he commits. The flash from Ruin, but just in time, Jiizuke is able to cleanse and dash out. That means that the target that they wanted is no longer in range, whereas Jacktroll ends up getting
vision, but Ruin has been dived in the mid lane here. The ace in the hole comes out. Jiizuke will take down Ruin. I'm not sure what he was doing there. Maybe thought he could catch someone out, but he didn't have the damage. And now we'll have to see with the top laner and the support gone from either side whether Vitality are able to get a bit more control over this game. It still feels very much like they're on the back foot. They are still behind in gold, but they have now hit these 2-3 item spikes on a lot of their carries. Gilius pushes in towards Djoko, the knockback onto Betsy. Minitroupax, that's a crit to the head of Betsy, but it's not quite enough damage to take him down, and now Vitality are going to continue their forward aggression. They can't find exactly the avenue they want.
Giants, yes, they found a pick onto Jacktroll, but losing Ruin really did hurt them. Vitality, they were able to get a lot more control over the mid lane, and they were able to force Giants back. This gold lead is not growing any further, so let's have a look, see how Ruin ends up dying here. He just... Okay, not entirely sure if he was looking at his mini-map, but he walked straight through the middle lane, trying to get to his team, and Jiizuke was freely able to just knock him back into the turret. So, you know, we've been praising Ruin a lot for his performance, but that was a big misplay from him, and really just showing a bit of a lack of respect towards his former teammates.
It's gone from 2-0-2 to 2-2-3 now. 2 deaths, only picking up 1 assist. Giants from 5-0 up are now not in as good a position as they were, but they are still 3,000 gold ahead. Minitroupax on his signature Caitlyn pick now has 3 items though, Vedius. He's actually ahead of Steeelback in terms of pure itemization and pure damage at this moment. This is where Vitality wanted to be after a poor early start.
Certainly is, and you can see Cabo, level 15, already has completed 3 items himself. This Vitality roster is now showing the strength of their siege with the composition. The deficit does not feel as big now, as Vitality is regaining a bit of confidence. Again, maintaining their composure, working together as a 5-man unit, but losing a bit of control on these side waves. Giants have push up top and mid. If they get push in, top and bot, by gaining push in mid, they'll be able to reclaim vision control around the Baron, and then they can start forcing these 5v5s, because while Vitality has a lot of good poke and a lot of good tower destruction capabilities, Giants should have the stronger team fight.
The question is, can Giants do it? Can they play the macro game as well as they did yesterday? The advantage has shrunk, as we said, Vedius. And Vitality now with a strong siege composition and double Mountain Drake are only going to be able to poke more underneath the towers and take them down even quicker when they get the opportunity. We're looking at Targamas, we're looking at Djoko, we're looking at Ruin for these big engages if Giants want to start a team fight, and then the disengage can come out from Vitality. It's whether all these pieces mesh together properly, whether all the cogs of the Giants machine work in alignment, or whether Vitality are able to put a spanner in the works.
Well, we're grouping up mid right now from Vitality. Again, keep your eyes on those side lanes, both top and bot. Big minion waves that are making their way towards the Vitality base, but Vitality, they don't want to concede control over the Baron. They recognize supports, it's a fight!
Emperor's Revive knocks him back. Targamas took 1 crit there and lost half his health. The Vitality looking for something? Not quite yet. Betsy's on the wrong side of this fray as he backs away, and now Vitality might just be calling for the Baron, at least to clear out some vision here. Gilius puts a barrel down on it, and they're going to start it up. Minitroupax and Azir will shred through this one incredibly quickly. The engage from Gilius, the knockback on Betsy, but he goes golden, and he's getting the hell out of dodge as he jumps to the back of the fight with the Realm Warp. And now Vitality need to realize that perhaps they cannot quite take this fight. They've used the ultimates, they've used the engage tools, and they will just back away from the Baron.
I think this was actually really smart from Vitality, but I'm not sure if the fight is over just yet. Here comes Djoko from the flank.
A little bit of poke on towards him. I don't think Giants want to full-on engage yet. Those minion waves are still pushing in the side lanes, Vedius.
So, the reason why Vitality started the Baron and then turned it into a fight was because Jiizuke had no flash and no ulti. If Giants were to then go to Baron and had the position to be in the favorable start of the fight, Vitality would have instantly lost. So what Vitality did was, hey, if we start the Baron, Giants is then drawn towards it, and we can be the initiators, allowing Jiizuke to sit at the back and just be this big damage dealer. Giants used a lot of ultis, but now they're the ones trying to force Vitality into an uncomfortable situation, as they've all just tried to go back to base.
They have got the ultimate on the Cho'Gath here as well. That Baron's down to 4,000 already. Smited Gilius, you need a steal here. Can't quite get it. It's taken by Giants, and now they're running for the wins. There's the Realm Orb. They're all going to get in and get out. The party bus leaves the station, and Giants get a Baron and get out scot-free.
Quick decision-making there from Giants. They recognized that Vitality did not want to fight. They simply wanted to avoid Giants initiating one. Therefore, once they'd been happy with the trade around the Baron, they backed away. They thought that they could just go back to base. But Giants said, you know what, we can grab a tower and we can brush this Baron down because, hey, we have a Cho'Gath. We have 2 smites. We have a Ryze and a Xayah who are at 3 items. We should take this pretty quickly. They do. And now Vitality, they're down a Baron.
Can this Giants roster, this lineup, these 5 champions, actually siege into the Vitality roster, though? Because the siege composition is usually pretty good at anti-sieging as well, Vedius.
Typically, they do have a lot of wave clear on the side of Vitality, and these Caitlyn traps make things difficult, but Giants can play the 1-3-1. They do have the teleport on Ruin, and if they keep Ryze off on a side lane and then just play towards him, it becomes easy to start breaking through these towers if you divide this Vitality roster up. But how well Giants are able to do that is yet to be decided as we watch them just gain control of the enemy jungle and start working their way into the base.
Great performance thus far from Giants. A little bit of that mid-game looked a bit shaky, but now they are starting that 1-3-1 that you talked about, Vedius. Djoko against his former team has been caught out here, will have to flash across the wall. And Betsy is doing a strong job on this Ryze. Got the Morellonomicon, the Abyssal Mask. It looks like he's going up towards that Zhonya's as well for extra golden Realm Warps.
Now, Minitroupax just did a pretty good thing where he actually pushed up into the top lane and had cleared out an extra wave, which meant that both the bot and top wave wouldn't hit at the same time, so Vitality won't lose any structures. But because Vitality have been forced back into their own base, Giants should be able to now take this tier 2 in the top lane.
1-3-1 working out well for them. Up next, of course, is Splice versus the Unicorns of Love. Both teams trying to redeem themselves after going 0-1 yesterday. We're looking to bring a win home for their fans today. Zeke's Convergence has been finished here on Targamas as well. Not common that we see that item, but it does synergize well with the Rakan.
I think along with the Uncensored, this Xayah is definitely going to add an extra bit of oomph as the game progresses, working towards what looks like, well, has completed the last Whisper. I would imagine a Lord Dominic's regard, but could also go for the Mortal Reminder, given the amount of lifesteal on Cabo and Minitroupax. We'll keep an eye on that. But 4 items finished on Minitroupax. He has had a lot of praise for his laning phase and aggression during the Challenger Series. And so far, he's sitting at 1-0-1. His mechanics have been shown through, but as of right now, it hasn't been enough to cap.
Vitality might look for an engage here on towards Djoko. Gilius is feeling around. Feels like Vitality on tend to hook slightly, though. They can't quite find the engage they want, and they know if they wait too long, Giants will just be able to take down these inhibitor towers. This is a tense moment of the game for both teams, you have to feel, because I sense that Giants realize if they lose a fight, if they overcommit for one of these towers, then Vitality are right back in the action. But Vitality know if they lose an inhibitor, the game is basically over for them.
Things are very tense for both sides. Giants, they're playing it patiently. They have a 5,000 gold lead, which obviously is very strong, but you've got a 3-item Azir, you've got a 4-item Caitlyn. Both do exceptional damage in the late game. And while Giants have been utilizing this Ryze very effectively to move around the map and take down these structures, the longer this game goes on, the difference in damage will start to show between the two mid laners. Still, you do have this big front line for Giants, which is why I give them the edge in the late game team fights. And Ryze typically sucks against tanks. Unfortunately, there really aren't that many on the side of Vitality that he has to get through. So this damage from Vitality in the late game, in terms of a 5v5, is definitely strong. But as you've identified, trying to get into that base, trying to break those towers is where things can get rather challenging.
And both these teams obviously want the win desperately as well. Going on a 2-0 first week in the EU LCS when you've got a new roster and a revamped lineup, rookies if you're actually on either team, because Ruin's a rookie, of course, and then Minitroupax, Jiizuke, and Jacktroll are all rookies on the side of Vitality. Being able to start off your split with a 2-0, 100% win record, is something that any team finds enviable. It's
going to do a lot for your confidence, but also when you think about how many analysts have expected these teams to play out, many think that there's a clear top 5 and a clear bottom 5, and some would argue that right now these are two of the bottom 5 teams going up against each other and displaying your dominance and saying, you know what, I actually think I belong in a spot in the top 5, or at least I deserve a chance of making it in there, is a great way to start off your debut into the LCS. And Giants right now are at least putting up a good show against these teams like Vitality and Unicorns.
I think the great thing for Giants as well is how methodical they've been in this game. It's been like a jigsaw that they put together in front of us. They've said, we'll take mid tower, we'll take bot tower, we'll take top, we'll do it piece by piece, and eventually we'll form this cohesive team fighting composition as we get later on into the game. This is the moment they need to find those final few pieces. This is the moment you need to find those pieces that you can't quite fit in a lot of the time, because they still haven't broken this inhibitor line. They still haven't got into the base of Vitality, and Vitality are holding on strong.
Betsy.
It's fine. His name isn't Faker, mate. He doesn't get caught out like that. Giants are going to be able to back away. Vitality pushing in the mid lane. Don't have a wave here, though, so it's going to be a while before Giants actually have to defend that turret too ardently.
His blue, not with the team. Djoko could look for an engage.
Going on to Minitroupax, but there's the Devour. Round Warp coming in from the side as well. The flash away from Jacktroll. Targamas is going to jump in. Double charm. Gets the triple as well. Down towards the bottom side. Gilius is getting caught out by Betsy, but now they've turned it back around. Cabochard comes in. Giants retreat back. They had the engage, but they couldn't quite find what they were looking for.
Just a trade of flashes from the supports and a lot of damage down onto some of the front line of Giants. I was a little worried there for Vitality without one of their big damage dealers of Jiizuke, but Steeelback could not follow up on the engage, And Betsy was stuck behind the wall just in front of the river, so he couldn't get onto the targets that Targamas initiated onto. So Vitality, they're now the ones in a position to siege. You can see Gangplank making his way down towards the bottom lane.
That's where you want to look to engage. Jiizuke jumps away, the tower goes down though, and Vitality with their second tower of the game are keeping this one pretty close. 4,000 gold between the two teams, but it's been the same since about the 20-minute mark, Vedius. Giants haven't been able to truly capitalize on their lead. They're going to look for this Azir turret. Look at Djoko. Look at Djoko. He's got a flank here, Vedius, and it's a 4v5 if he can get in. The turret isn't down. Djoko jumps in. There's the Emperor's Divide. Can they get away the TP? But is that too little too late? Gilius goes golden as he tries to get himself out of this fight as well. But Jacktroll almost goes down. Look at the damage onto Ruin. He just about gets away until Minitroupax says not today. He secures a kill. And now Vitality can go on the front foot. The realm warp away by Giants. They just have to escape. And 4 members of Giants will survive, but Vitality win the fight.
There is just so much range between Caitlyn and Azir that every time Giants try to engage, they are failing to get onto the backline. Vitality are now starting off the Baron. They will secure it and have turned this game on its head.
We talked about it, Vedius. We talked about Vitality having these strong late-game carries. We talked about the Azir. We talked about Minitroupax on his signature Caitlyn pick. That is exactly how he dominated the Challenger Series. Vitality with an incredible team fight to make that one work. And now they have Baron buff. They're within 1,000 gold. It's looking good for Vitality.
You know, I looked at this comp from Giants and I thought, well, their engage is really good. Their ability to just force fights is strong. But look at the disengage. Jiizuke all around the backline and Troupax. Keep your eye on these two carries. Constantly hitting the front line of Ruin, who can't touch them. He cannot get anywhere near this double damage threat of Vitality. And Troupax and Jiizuke are just constantly positioning in a way that keeps them safe from danger. And they're just slowly chipping their way through.
That's why you don't eat muffins, Vedius. It's bad for your waistline, and eventually they'll kill you. And that's exactly what happened for Betsy there. Vitality now closing in on this inhibitor tower. Great siege composition from them. Giants know they need to do something. They've got a bit of a flank. Betsy stepping forward. Here's Djoko. The stun's going to land. Jacktroll caught out. Gilius now in that front line, but look at Minitroupax and look at Jiizuke. Steeelback gets the first kill. Minitroupax still untouched. Jiizuke gets out with the Devour, and now they're going to turn and burn back on towards this one. Minitroupax is netting towards them. Jiizuke gets his first. Double kill for Mini as well with the static shift proc. And Vitality turn around the fight.
Another successful fight going in the favor of Vitality. Giants just cannot catch Jiizuke and Minitroupax, but you also have to give so much praise to Jacktroll. He is not flashing early, he is not making mistakes, and every time one of his carries are in danger, he gobbles them up, takes them to safety, and Vitality could very well end the game right now.
What a comeback from Vitality. The rookies come up huge near the end. Betsy's gonna fall. Targamas tries to get himself away, but Vitality will not let him escape. They end it with an ace, and they take the win over Giants.
So many positive things from the early game of Giants. They had a strong early lead. They had control over the entire map. So many towers were down, only 16 minutes into the game. Yet Vitality, they stayed firm. They took advantage of the strong wave clear and difficulty for Giants to really get onto the backline. And once they started winning those fights, they did not stop. They were confident that they could outscale with their damage dealers in Azir and the Caitlyn. And they just needed that one fight, that one Baron, to then quickly turn that into a game. I don't even think they took towers in the side lanes. They literally just kept running it down mid. Vitality, they said, you know what, we don't need those.
Usually that's a bad thing, but sometimes running it down mid can be a good way to win the game. I don't actually know that for sure. I'm sure we'll find out. But yeah, what a performance from Vitality. Turned it around with so much on the back foot for the majority of that game, but came up big in the end against their former team. Commiserations, of course, to Giants, who did put on a strong early game macro performance. A promising performance, I think you have to say, from Giants, looking at the split as a whole.
Oh yeah, I mean, that was still a good early game from Giants. They had a good early lead. Unfortunately for them, they just weren't quite able to close it out. They will go back to the drawing board and they will look at what they can do better for the future.
You're right, Vedius. They only took mid lane towers and the Nexus towers. Yeah. That's incredible.
Just run it down mid, baby.
Run it down mid, baby. Advice for competitive play, maybe not for solo queue as much.
Hey, it works for the unicorns,
but
right?
we're going to be duo queuing, so I really don't want people in our games to run it down mid. And I think you could see their Vitality. They are a very emotional team. We talked about it. They looked a little bit more muted coming out of this game than they did against the game against
I would say. Yeah.
Composed, I'd agree with that. I think the early game did not go the way they wanted it to, and maybe they're thinking a little bit more about how to play a stronger early game, especially when you think they're going to match up against teams like Fnatic, like G2, like Misfits, even like Splice, who have shown that their early games are a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think I just overvalued the strength of this front line from Giants, because you look back at the game that G2 had yesterday and you sit there and you think, okay, this front line seems impossible to get through, but it was just through really good positioning and really good team fighting from both Jiizuke, Minitroupax, Jacktroll, constantly just sitting on the back end, that they were able to consistently win out these fights, constantly get through the front line, and Giants, they just seem to have no answer.
Definitely seemed to be the case. Vitality going 2-0 in their first week. It's such a good performance for them, and so emotionally bolstering for their rookies as well.
Very good confidence boost for this Vitality. They really have put their money where their mouths are, and I'm excited to see what this roster can do over the next few weeks.
Most exciting set of rookies since Misfits, indeed. Our analysts have selected Cabochard, Jiizuke, and Jacktrolls as their options for player of the game. Guys, you got to go over to @LolEsports on Twitter and vote for your favorite. We're going to reveal the winner in just a few minutes, but make sure you get there. Make sure that your vote counts, because every single vote matters. It's like an election. If you don't vote, Donald Trump might win it, and that is not good for anyone. We'll have to wait and see. But be sure to tune in after this break and see what Gilius thinks about Vitality's win before the Unicorns of Love and Splice take to the Rift. Ruin coming from the side. Giants want this fight. They tried to steal the red. Now they're trying to steal some kills, and there's first blood. Ruin gets it. He wants a bit more. He's going to take a bite of the champ. Jiizuke doesn't really have anywhere to go. He's going to get nommed out. And Giants once again collapse for a kill. Gilius goes golden as he tries to get himself out of this fight as well. But Jacktroll almost goes down. Look at the damage onto Ruin. He just about gets away until Minitroupax says not today. He's the first kill. Minitroupax still untouched. Jiizuke gets out with the Devour, and now they're going to turn and burn back on towards this one. Minitroupax is netting towards them. Jiizuke gets his first double kill for